Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. Day 2 of the Break Fest. That's what I'm gonna call it, man. The Break Fest, the YouTube video Break Fest, the Grind Fest, whatever you wanna call it. It's holiday break, man. But we are here with a video from Nonstop Sports. Now, in the NBA, there's been plenty of successful duos. For instance, LeBron and Kyrie right here. Shaq and Kobe. Malone and Stockton. Who's more? There's more. Hold on, give me a second. Let me think. Bron and Wade. There's one more. We could say the Splash Bros. But there's plenty of duos that have succeeded in this league. It's succeeded even a word, but nevertheless, there are plenty of players who have had great success, plenty of duos who have had great success. This video from Nonstop Sports is talking about NBA duos that failed miserably. And let's go ahead and let's get into it, man. Let's see what this video is talking about. We gotta like him, give him a like, of course, and let's get into it.
The NBA is a league ruled by
Hey, no hydration today, man. I got no water on me today.
Playoff spot.
It's rare, but you know, it is what it is.
However,
Let me
that's
adjust.
not an exact science. Here are the worst cases of superstar implosion and the greatest NBA duos that failed miserably.
Hey, let's see.
He's a god in Philadelphia.
AI?
So in 2006, when the 76ers traded him to Denver, Philly's fan base was disgusted.
Melo and AI,
Surprisingly,
I agree.
Nuggets fans were ecstatic.
I agree.
They had Carmelo Anthony, who averaged 28 points per game. But
Hey, man, I gotta say off the rip, I agree with the first one, man. I totally agree. If we're ranking this from top 10, I'd probably put this like top 3, because if you look at it, when coming into the league in the 2003 draft, I remember, I don't know where I read the report. I think it was Twitter or something, but it was LeBron and Melo, like, who's the best player? And at the time, you know, because Melo with that team, with the Nuggets, he took them to the playoffs and LeBron didn't yet. I don't remember. It's something like that, but he took the Nuggets to the playoffs, and something happened to LeBron, or maybe took them farther, whatever, and people were starting to consider Melo over LeBron for like a short period. But yeah, man, I mean, AI, how do I put this in better words? AI was coming out of his prime, but he was still very productive, coming from the 76ers. I got a young guy, electric, in Carmelo Anthony. At the time, who was electric in Carmelo Anthony. A lot of hype around the name, and it seemed like a perfect fit, you know. It was even like a little brother, big brother duo. I mean, Melo with the cornrows and the tats, and then AI with the cornrows and the tats. But AI is the older one, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, let's continue.
Everson was even
very underrated.
His last 2 seasons,
I think they would have made a serious impact had things worked out.
So with 2 of the 5
maybe
best scores in the
conference
NBA,
finals or
Nuggets were
the
hoping to win
finals.
their first NBA championship. But that was just wishful thinking. Even though Melo and AI combined for more than 50 points per game.
Dang, 50 points.
And they spent their free time in nightclubs instead of the practice facility.
That's a lot of points,
when the
man.
2007 playoffs came around, Denver lost 4 games to 1 in the first round to the Spurs. And
Dang.
in 2008, they were even worse, getting swept by Kobe and the Lakers. After winning
Shoot.
just 1 playoff game in 2 years, it was clear that Iverson and Melo were good on paper, but a disaster in reality. So 3 games into the 2009 season, Iverson was traded to Detroit, and the AI-Carmelo partnership ended up as nothing but empty scoring numbers. You'd think that Carmelo would learn from that failure and choose his superstar teammates better, but you'd be wrong. In 2010, Melo forced his way out of Denver and into New York because he fell in love with another superstar.
Amari Stoudemire, hey, that dude was underrated too.
Just to be clear. It was Amari Stoudemire.
Yeah, pause.
Breaks. When he was at his best, Amari was the most explosive big man in the NBA.
Steve
the problem
Nash.
was that his knees were terrible.
Steve Nash
It was
and
only a
Amari
matter of time
Stoudemire.
before he was going to crash.
Beastly.
Just like a fast
Ooh.
car with bad brakes.
I look at
In 2010,
ACL or ankle.
Stoudemire signed with the Knicks. He came in at 200 miles per hour, averaging over 30 points in his first 10 games in New York. He was so good that Anthony created melodrama, fighting with everybody on the Nuggets just so he could play with Stoudemire on the Knicks. But in their first full season together, Amari's knees lasted only until the All-Star break. In the following season, Stoudemire played just 29 games, and it was clear that his best basketball days were behind behind him. Carmelo was supposed to drive at 200 miles per hour with Stoudemire, but he got a wreck that was in the shop more than it was on the road. Stoudemire and Anthony never won a playoff series playing together, and they flamed out just as abruptly as they got together. But
Mark Stoudemire is a big what-if story.
Which could not
what
be
if?
said about
He's
KD
like
and Russell Westbrook.
Brandon Roy or Derrick Rose. Huge what
The
if.
biggest betrayal in the NBA. In 2007, Durant was drafted by the Seattle Supersonics.
True that.
The team moved to Oklahoma City, and in their first draft as the OKC Thunder,
I mean, look at this lineup right here.
In 2009, James Harden.
Look at that lineup. 3 MVPs. I think the biggest thing is I think they reached their peak too early. These guys reached their peak too early, and I think it was another thing like money or something like that had to do with James Harden. But they made the finals in 2012, and from that it was like that was their peak right there. An early peak. It's like when you peak early and then it's just downhill. It gets worse and worse every year, man. They're a big what if. 3 MVPs. Do y'all realize 3 MVPs? And in that same decade, those 3 guys got MVP. Yo, like, oh my gosh.
Join them. And in 2012, the Thunder played in their first NBA Finals. The future said it would win at least 2 or 3 titles and become a dynasty, but they managed to ruin everything. First, OKC
Look at Russ,
didn't want to
man.
pay James Harden
Look at
enough
James
money,
Harden,
so he
man.
demanded a trade.
How did they give up?
KD and Russ, the Thunder still had enough to go all the way.
Oh my gosh,
They were
the Thunder
never
screwed
close in
up.
2016. OKC had a 3-1 lead in the conference finals.
Like they
against
really
the
screwed
Warriors,
up.
and were just 1 game away from proceeding to the finals. But thanks to Klay Thompson's magical Game 6, the Warriors forced a Game 7 and would ultimately prevail and win the series. Kevin Durant was a free agent.
I remember watching that series when I was like 10.
OKC's offense was stagnant.
That was a beastly
Russ was
series,
forcing
though.
a lot of shots.
I seen the Curry shot and all.
Always guarded by 2 people. So Durant's next chapter was with Golden State.
Big betrayal.
Just defeated them in the playoffs.
I got 4 words. Biggest betrayal of... Actually, no, that's 5 words. Biggest betrayal of all time. I don't think there'll ever be more... I'm trying to get my words out, man. I don't know if there'll be a more snake move than what KD did, man. That's why he's been crowned the snake. But yeah, man, they did Russ dirty. I'm not gonna lie. I did Russ dirty. But hey, he had that triple-double season, though. So,
the All-Star game.
I guess, you know, things happen for a reason.
Durant visited OKC in a Warriors jersey. KD may have been called a cupcake, but he won 2 titles, and in retrospect, we can safely say he made the right decision. His absence allowed Russ to average a triple-double and win the MVP, so at least both sides did well after a messy divorce. Something Kobe Bryant was very familiar with. Kobe was
Shaq
the biggest
and Kobe.
asshole when it came to basketball, and he was known to be extremely hard on his teammates. Dwight Howard was the complete opposite, and was known for having a good time and laughing on the court.
Yeah. Dwight Howard
came to LA and
Dwight Howard and Kobe just
resume of the best center in the NBA.
That's terrible right there.
His personality was never going to click with Kobe's. However, that could all be forgotten if the Lakers were winning, but it just wasn't the case. Dwight was still recovering from back surgery that limited his athleticism and mobility, and the Lakers were struggling to make the playoffs. But to make the postseason, Kobe went on a tear in the final months of the regular season, playing more than 40 minutes per game, carrying the Lakers to each precious victory.
Hey, he did whatever in his power to make things happen,
but they paid
and tried.
a heavy price. Kobe tore his Achilles due to the insane
and that was officially like the end of his career, man.
And the Lakers' season went down the drain. Howard was now.
I think he could have played a little bit longer had it been
with the grumpy and injured
for that
Kobe, or go to
Achilles that really put an end to everything.
He chose to join James
maybe a
Harden
year.
and the Rockets.
Maybe he would have played to the
Bryant first played against
2016-17
Dwight,
season.
He let him know exactly what he thinks of him. You're soft. You are soft, Kobe kept repeating, even challenging a much bigger Howard to a fight.
I thought it was Dwight Howard who tried to fight Kobe.
But his relationship with James Harden soon became identical to his beef with Kobe. Then during Howard's 3rd year with the Rockets, Harden couldn't stand his big man anymore. They didn't talk. Harden rarely passed him the ball, and the Rockets weren't a good team. After an embarrassing loss in the playoffs, Howard was forced to switch teams again, and he would soon earn the reputation of one of the most annoying players in the NBA. Bryant even said that after playing with Dwight, that he started to appreciate Shaq more, despite their beef that lasted for years. But if there is somebody who didn't appreciate Shaq as a teammate, it had to be LeBron James. Because towards the end of his career,
LeBron,
Shaquille O'Neal was a certified ring chaser.
A very forgotten duo right there, man. I don't think nobody remembers that.
After he failed to win the title with Steve Nash, O'Neal believed that his best bet to win another championship.
True journeyman right there.
James in Cleveland.
A true journeyman.
The problem was that Shaq liked donuts more than he wanted to win that elusive 5th title. Fat and out of shape, Shaq never provided much help for LeBron, averaging just 12 points and 6 rebounds in 23 minutes per game.
That's bad, man. That's a huge drop-off.
To the Celtics, after which LeBron ditched
That is a huge drop-off.
And made his decision to take his talents to South Beach. So in 2011, Shaq went on another ring-chasing expedition.
Journeyman, yeah, that's me.
End his career. But the Celtics weren't lacking in superstar duos.
That's a tough end.
In fact, Kevin Garnett didn't just fall out with a fellow superstar, he lost his best friend. In 1995, Kevin Garnett came to the NBA straight out of high school, and a year later, Stephon Marbury wanted to do the same. He called KG, asked him about his NBA experience, and they soon became great friends. After which Garnett persuaded Marbury
KG and Stephon Marbury. Hey, that middle part went stupid, man. Yo, look at that middle part, man. That's style right there. I don't know.
Who was originally selected by the Bucks. Even though Ray Allen was one of
Maybe he had cornrows, that's what it is.
Trading for Marbury looked like a steal for the Timberwolves. Starbury had put up great numbers and was one of the best passers in the game, and was looking like a perfect Robin to Garnett's Batman. But when Garnett got a gigantic $126 million extension,
dang,
the Timberwolves offered
that had to have been a lot of money back then, man. That's a lot of money.
And beyond the money, the weather was an even bigger issue. Marbury was freezing his ass off in Minneapolis, so he didn't want to sign a long extension. And in the middle of his 3rd season, during a particularly cold winter, Steph asked for a trade and got sent to New Jersey. KG felt he was betrayed.
New Jersey ain't much of a difference. Ain't that cold too?
Again. But no betrayal
That's up north.
would have been as bad as what Vince Carter did to Toronto.
Near New York.
Carter wanted to get traded, so he refused to play hard in games. He was dragging himself on the court, not playing a lick of defense, and generally not giving a crap about his team or the fans in Toronto. Vince averaged 16 points compared to his usual 25, went to the free throw line just 3 times instead of 8, and even shot the free throws below 70%, even though he was usually making them close to 80%. And then, he finally got traded.
But didn't Toronto also not like Vince Carter either? Like, they didn't like him at all. And he dealt with injuries too, so
he was playing hard, drawing fouls.
There was a lot more to it than that.
7 points per game. The Kidd and Carter connection worked perfectly, and everybody thought the Nets were going to the finals again. But it proved to be the furthest thing from the truth. Both Vince and Kidd's jump shots would go MIA, and against tougher opposition, they couldn't hit an ocean from a boat. The Nets never got past the 2nd round of the playoffs, and after 2 seasons of disappointment, Kidd left the team, and the Nets transformed from a title contender to a lottery team. But if there's anybody who had worse results with superstar teammates, it's Vince Carter's cousin, Tracy McGrady. In 2000, McGrady left Toronto.
Another huge what if for Tracy McGrady.
Small forward in the NBA
injury-wise.
It was Grant Hill, a 5-time All-Star in his basketball.
Another huge what if, Grant Hill as well.
Orlando, which was kind of like Leonardo DiCaprio getting a lucky poker hand and winning a ticket for the Titanic. Because just like Leonardo, McGrady's dreams of a bright future were soon replaced by the harsh reality that he boarded a sinking ship. Grant Hill had a nasty ankle injury during his last season in Detroit, and when he signed with Orlando, he just couldn't get healthy. Hill re-aggravated the injury. His ankle got infected, and at one point, the doctors even wanted to amputate his foot. In 4 seasons with the Magic, Grant only played 47 games.
Infected?
He was never healthy in the playoffs.
That's
McGrady
bad,
did
bro.
become a superstar in Orlando with 2 scoring titles.
That's bad.
But the team was mediocre without Hill, and after 4 years, T-Mac had no choice but to leave Orlando. Ironically, just when Tracy left, Grant Hill got healthy and became an all-star with the Magic.
Wow,
While McGrady was definitely one of the most talented players ever, he must be the least talented ever when it comes to picking his superstar teammates. Because after the fiasco with Hill in Orlando, McGrady teamed up with Yao Ming in Houston. Yao came to the NBA in 2002, and he immediately became famous worldwide. First, by blocking Shaq's shots 3 times in a row, and then by forcing Charles Barkley to kiss a donkey. And when T-Mac joined the Rockets, everything looked perfect. But in 2005, after a disappointing playoff exit, Yao and T-Mac couldn't stay on the floor together. If one was healthy, the other was injured, and vice versa. They were supposed to be the best Chinese and African-American duo since Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, but Yao and T-Mac failed.
That's funny, nonstop. That's funny.
From McGrady, and this
He
time,
ain't wrong.
he was too old and too injured to find another superstar, and both he and Yao were soon out of the NBA. In recent years, there was another guard-big man combo that was ruined by injuries. When they started out, they were the most fun and the most devastating pick-and-roll duo in the NBA, but when they fell apart, they weren't even
Lob
speaking
City
to each other anymore. In 2011, when Chris Paul joined the Clippers, it didn't take long for the team starting to get called Lob City. The Clippers had Blake Griffin, the most athletic big man in the NBA, and now they also had Paul, the best pick-and-roll passer in the NBA, who served lob dunks like McDonald's served French fries. But not only were they attractive, Blake and CP were also really good, and they were finally supposed to break the Clippers' curse.
Bro, let me tell you something about this duo, man. Blake and CP, man, that's like a match made in heaven, because for one, let's start with CP. You know, he's the point guard and he's the assist beast. He can throw lobs, perfect for Blake Griffin to go up there, who was a dunker at the time, to just go and yam that down. And then when they got DeAndre Jordan, you know, that was Lob City 2.5. But yeah.
Clippers never made the conference finals in their franchise history, and it seemed certain that the Lob City was going to do it. But they failed spectacularly. In 2014, they lost a 3-1 series lead in the second round of the playoffs against Houston. After that, either Griffin or Paul was injured in the playoffs, and they never reached the height all of those dunks had promised. Ultimately, Paul got traded to the Rockets to play with James Harden, which was a move that raised a lot of eyebrows. CP3 and James Harden were two ball-dominant guards with a history of beefing with their teammates, so how could it possibly work? But somehow, it did. In 2018, the Rockets had the #1 seed in the NBA and were the only team that could stop the almighty Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant. Until one day, CP3's hamstring gave out, and he was forced to sit out the rest of Game 6 of the conference finals. In Game 7, the Rockets still had their chance to reach the finals, but they missed 27 three-pointers in a row, and that's not how you can win against Golden State.
27 in a row.
Harden and Paul's chemistry
Dang, that almost made me cough right there.
They're bickering on the floor and during timeouts. When the Rockets lost to the Warriors again, Houston's management decided to split the beefing duo, and CP3 was sent to OKC. But few players can bicker and talk trash to their own teammates better than Jimmy Butler. The year was 2017, and the Minnesota Timberwolves had a duo of first overall picks from 2 consecutive NBA drafts, and they were supposed to be a good team. But despite the obvious talents of Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, who both won Rookie of the Year awards in 2015 and 2016, Minnesota sucked. So, when the young stars can't push you to the playoffs, it's smart to add a veteran, and Jimmy Butler seemed like the perfect fit. Trading for Jimmy immediately reaped the benefits, with Minnie winning 16 more games and making the playoffs for the first time.
Well, this would be a trio then.
However, the young pups couldn't provide much help to Butler in the playoffs, and they immediately lost in the first round. When the next season started, Jimmy Butler wanted to see more hunger and more determination to improve from Cat and Wiggins. Instead, he saw 2 young kids who liked to have a good time and didn't care too much if they lost a game, and that pissed Jimmy off. Butler publicly asked for a trade, and he got into many arguments with Towns and Wiggins, famously beating all the starters in practice with a bunch of bench warmers from the second unit. Midway through his second season in
that's kind of like Michael Jordan, like, you know what I'm saying?
Towns was fully over. In 2021, when Minnesota visited the Heat, Butler was caught on camera talking trash to Towns, calling him soft as baby feces, and saying that he punked him once.
That's an interesting choice of words right there.
Classic Jimmy.
Interesting choice of words right there from the guy, the Jimmy Buckets. Always, you know, articulating his vocabulary, if you know what I mean. But yeah, man, I think that the last one, the very last one, it shouldn't have been included because of the fact that it wasn't necessarily a trio. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a duo, it was a trio with Jimmy Butler, Cat, and, you know, Wiggins. Maybe he was specifically talking about Cat and Wiggins, how they didn't work and how Jimmy Butler tried to, but I look at that more of as a trio. and also kind of with OKC, I kind of looked at that as a trio a little bit because Harden was also in that, so I wouldn't necessarily include those ones if we're talking about NBA duos that failed miserably, but those trios did fail miserably. But hey man, that's gonna go ahead and conclude today's video. This is NOT signing off, man. We're 900 subs away by March. Let's make it happen. Let's make it work, man. We're still at 106. I don't know what's going on, man. The YouTube algorithm, you know, it's starting to get there again like it did with my last channel, where it's like, okay, you post some videos consistently, but you know, I don't know what's wrong with my videos or whatever the case may be. But you know, if you do stumble upon this video, make sure to share with family and friends, and you know, let's make things happen. Join the Discord, link in the description. I'm looking to grow that big as well. But yeah, man, day 2 of this winter grind fest, this winter fest, this grind fest, this break fest. This is NOT signing off, man. Love you guys. Peace, man. Peace.